made a motion and seconded by Councilman Cavan. So that was to hold a public hearing. We've done that. So now we would have to make a motion to consider adopting proposed ordinance 24-12, amending chapter 26 regarding water rates, as it reads in ordinance 24-05.
Oh, I know.
So we would need a motion for that. Councilman Hildebrand, would you care to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, giving us a lot of serious thought, I want to make an amendment to the original. And I'm proposing, one, is that the city manager develops a plan to whatever rate that we come up with, that we give credit back to people on their accounts as if this new rate would be in effect with August 1 billings. Whatever that is.
I believe, if I'm not, correct me if I'm not right, Mr. Eintema, do we need to, we can't amend this plan until we put it on the floor for discussion.
I thought it was on the floor.
It is on the floor.
It is on the floor, okay.
So,
Right.
and sorry to interrupt, Counselor. How many months would you like that baked in?
So it just needs to develop a plan about how we can go. If it takes 2 months, if he's got to create a form for people to send in, we don't need to be sending in 17,000 people to the water department. We just need to develop a plan of how people can expect to get that credit back on their account at some point in time. If he says, I got to put a form in the water bill that you send back in and that you're making that request or something, you just need some form of plan so that people know that they can go and request this refund or credit. I'm not calling it a refund, a credit on their account. And I'm not saying I have that idea what that plan is now, but that is part of the instruction of what I want to do with this amendment here. And
Well, if you don't mind, I don't think we have the staff at the city office to anybody to send anything in.
I understand that,
So,
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
But maybe we got to go out and hire temporary people, or we got to do something different than just depending upon what our own staff is. We may have to outsource part of this. We may have to draw people in from, I don't know, other departments. I don't know. But that's why I'd like to have the city manager develop a plan of how we can get these refunds or rebates back to people or credits on their account. The other thing I would like to do now is amend that based upon those rebate or refunds or credits coming back to people, staying with the base rates, 3/4 inch at $27, 1 inch at $31, inch and a half at $41, 2 inch at $55, 3 inch at $67, 4 inch at $92, and $123 for a 6 inch with a new base rate of $3.28, which is a 35% over. Subject to talk about that. I'll even go $3.40. Let me take it to $3.40, which is 40% over because we know that the needs are there, but we don't know exactly what they are. But we do know that we're short, which is the same rate as what was in the original, and then taking the outside the city rate to 125% of that 340. Taking the wastewater rate to the base rate on those. I've got to find them on here. Sorry about that. It is the Do we not have the base rate on here? Mr. Cole, can you help me out here?
Yes, sir. So I think you're looking at the old base rate for wastewater was $11.91.
$11.91, yeah. So what I'm saying then is that we will go with the $26.50 base rate, which was in the original. And the rate for residential over 6,000 gallons goes to $2. Flat rate. The rate for small commercial, base rate goes to $32.25. $2 for anything over 6,000. The large commercial goes to base rate of $42. And again, $2 per thousand over 6,000. Got that? Does that cover all of them? I believe it does. And that takes the flat rate of $3.40 on water, 125% for outside city, and we keep the meter rates what the original ordinance has in it, current ordinance has in it.
May I interrupt? So, Counselor, to make sure we understand the amendment here, so you are on the last page of the original council packet, page 17, where the that says effective, so at the top of the page reads, City of Roswell Utilities Department, Water and Wastewater Services Rates and Fees, Ordinance 24-12, Chapter 26, Appendix A. Then going to the inside rates, the size column will be unchanged, the rate column will be unchanged, the rate 3,000 plus gallons will be $2.40. Under wastewater, the base rate will be unchanged, and the rate would be amended to $2. Then going to the next box, the rates would read $3.40 instead of $3.50, and $2 instead of $2.69.
Yeah, I mean,
So was that correct, Counselor? So if I understood the amendment correctly, what we'd be seeing is on page 17,
yes,
wherever it says $3.50, make it $3.40.
correct,
Wherever it says $2.69, make it $2.
correct,
Everything else is unchanged.
correct. And then a credit goes back. I don't know how we get that in the, we'll leave that up to you to figure out the wording for that.
So if that's the case, Council Mayor Pro Tem, I would suggest that you incorporate the language. So there was a proposed ordinance that was placed on your desks. It would put in an indexing provision that's correct. So it reads 26-189 rate indexing. And then it would, below that, 26-190 indigent and hardship assistance. The manager may design and implement policies and procedures to allow reductions at the customer's written request of the base and volume of water and wastewater rates found in Appendix A for those living at or below the most recent year's federal poverty level. And then the manager may design and implement policies and procedures to allow reductions at the customer's written request of the base and volume water and wastewater rates for up to 2 months in Appendix A for those who demonstrate hardship and ability to make payment. So that right there would.
gotta demonstrate hardship. I'm not saying you demonstrate it. Does just filling out the form demonstrate hardship?
We'd have to create rules and procedures to define hardship. But the amendment's consistent with the spirit of what you were putting forward.
So if they fill out the form and say
Mayor-
this high rate is create a financial
Mayor Pro Tem, can you speak into your mic?
demonstrate what that financial hardship is. I'm sorry. Do they have to demonstrate, or they just say this has created a financial hardship on me, fill out the form and give me my credit?
That would be ultimately up to the design, but an attestation that it's hardship is all we'd rely on anyway.
Right. I can't determine what's a hardship on you.
Right.
You know, I can't determine if Jeff Bezos drops him $100 million, is that a hardship for him? I don't know. But it's all relative to what the hardship is. So I just want to make sure that we're able to give refunds to people if they fill out, if we come up with a form, that they get their credit back.
Give me 3 seconds.
Because there's some people who are just going to say, you know what, I'm not going to mess with it. If they just had the base rate, they're just not going to mess with it. Hmm?
Oh. Do you have page 17 they talking about? It said, she said in her original packet. I'm sorry, yes. I don't have a page 17. Could it be done in the fix-it ticket, guys?
All right.
Could it
So,
be done in the fix-it ticket?
So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I think what we would do is add in language, demonstrate hardship or disproportionate increase in billing. Yeah, and the way this would work, this is it's a quicker fix because when the manager creates a policy, it just goes to you guys for ratification in a month as opposed to a full-blown ordinance.
That'll get them July.
So it's limited to 2 months. Yeah. This also has the added, yeah, yep. That would be sufficient legally.
That's my amendment.
Where do we go from here?
Second.
I don't know.
Can I remind y'all to please speak into your mics?
All right, we have, all right, let me get back on my page. Okay, we're on item 3 of, and this is to amend ordinance, 24-12, amending chapter 26 regarding water rates in ordinance 2405. We have a proposed amendment, and it was moved by Councilman Hildebrand, seconded by Councillady Halverson. Is that correct, I think?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just a quick question. I'm hoping that everybody understands exactly all the changes that Mayor Pro Tem Hildebrandt just put into this deal, because there's a lot of changes that nobody has in front of them, really. So I just want to make sure everybody really understands what they're voting on.
I don't.
Okay, well. Okay, he said, Councilman Cabin said he hoped everybody understood because there are a lot of changes that are being recommended put into this motion. And so, Council Leader Moore also said she didn't understand that. So we have a amended plan by Councilor Hildebrand, seconded by Councilman Lady Halverson. And so now, on request to speak, I have Council Lady Arnold, then Council Lady Moore, then Councilor Corn. So Councilor Christine Arnold, if you'd like to speak to this amended plan. If not,
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only concern, I do appreciate and understand Councilman Hildebrandt's suggestions at the rate change. I also think that people need to be aware that there is in our current code, section 26-145 on disputed bills, that basically if you formally dispute your bill, it actually, you can suspend it actually having to be paid until it is resolved and reviewed by the actual city admin. It's right here in front of me. I'm reading it. You have the right to dispute. So if you have $9,000 due and it looks off, or if you have 100,000 gallons for a small family, you should be disputing. You have a right to dispute that, and we have not been properly informing you of your rights. I highly recommend that everyone in this community that has something that's questionable, send it via email so it is public record. It is actually documented, because the problem that I'm concerned with even this amendment is that I have no guarantee that they're going to follow up and make sure that they are doing it properly. It puts the onus on the community, the public, to make sure that they're telling the city that there's something wrong. We don't actually check to make sure there's something right. So you have to tell us when there's something wrong. That's what concerns me about this amendment, because there's nothing saying in here that that will allow for administrative review or a rate study, or that the administration will actually look into it. But I would tell you, I've asked for them to hire more staff. There is city staff that said they will happily come in and help. So I just don't feel that there have been productive or proactive ways or creative ways to actually figure out how we bring more people in to analyze this stuff. But anyway, there's nothing guaranteeing that they will do a rate study. There's nothing guaranteeing that they actually will look into this to make sure that we don't have errors. Like, why is this gentleman getting 100,000? Why is me and my dog Pepper getting 45,000? So that's my only concern with it. I think we could actually use that dispute system to actually figure out how to credit people with ARPA funds, because we'd have a documentation, and if there's actually a problem, then you can actually refund them in that system. So, I mean, that's an idea there. But I'm uncomfortable, because if I vote for this, and you have that problem, but if I vote no, then I look like I didn't support change. So it's a very big pickle. But I'm asking that you actually include the words for administrative review in a rate study.
okay, next.
What were you requesting?
I was asking that we include in your verbiage for administrative review in a rate study, that those be required, that we have to, I mean, because if you guys send in all your disputes, they have to hire the staff to actually review that. So basically, to tell me that you don't have staff is not going to work, because if people start actually putting in the public record, you have to actually resolve that. So
Okay. Councilor Hildebrand, are you through responding?
Well,
Okay.
are you asking for me to adjust my amendment?
Yes, sir. I was asking that my only concern with I would support what you recommended, but I want I want some reassurance that there is going to be a review by the administration and that there will be a rate study.
Council, I believe that's up to the council to instruct them. We don't have to put that in this ordinance. We can instruct them to put an RFP out for that. We don't have to do it here. We can do it.
Okay.
We can do it at any committee and bring it forward.
4 months ago, at the infrastructure meeting in July, that is what I actually asked for. I asked for them to put it, I've mentioned several times because our city manager and our city attorney told me that they were hearing me and were going to do a rate study or going to hire an outside auditor. My concern is the same concern that the people have. I'm lacking confidence in our leaders. So
I will tell you this, as I chair the legal committee, I will put that on the next legal committee agenda to move that forward, to ask for a rate study. Even though it's not the infrastructure committee, I will put that forward at the legal committee.
do I have your word?
Pardon?
Oh, wait.
No, I'm
No,
asking
no.
because I can ask him that.
I'll put it on the next legal committee agenda, requesting an RFP for a water and wastewater rate study. I will do that.
Jesus, yes, your word was good. Council Lady Moore.
And I kind of, where it said rate indexing, why we couldn't include, if they're going to look at it every year, why couldn't there be a rate study included in the initial year maybe? You know what I mean? Since we're going to say we're going to do it yearly, at least in the initial rate, the first year include a rate study in it, since we have not done one. If you can say we're going to do it every year, why come you can't include the rate study? Okay, now you have a lot of changes. I don't know if y'all know how much paper y'all may not have. Y'all maybe have less papers than I do. You said go to page 17. I don't have a page 17. I don't know where the numbers of you was coming from. Were you coming from this big old pretty colorful packet we got? Well, how the front door was I supposed to know that? When I just used the paper one. So I'm just saying he's saying it. No, it's okay now. He's saying it as if everybody is looking at that. That's what I'm saying. Y'all want those things. We need those things in front of us. Y'all want us to make an informed decision. Just because you printed the online agenda doesn't mean that everybody printed the online agenda. He's asking for numbers that I don't see. And so that means, are we voting on this, or we just voting on that one piece of paper that he's looking at?
He's created new numbers for you, that's why I'm saying.
New numbers from where? Just that one piece of paper. So we ignoring all of these, ignoring all of this. So it doesn't include the lower rate for the next couple of months, nothing, none of that.
It's getting people, if you don't mind,
I'm listening.
Your mic, please.
It's getting as if this rate, whatever we pass tonight, was in effect with August 1 billing. And if they get their, whatever the rate difference is from the tiered rate to whatever rate we pass tonight, they get a credit back for their August and September billings.
So it's not spreading it out over 4 months
It's
like
not-
we were talking
not-
about this, that, and the other.
Because
It makes sense to
we
just
don't
use one number.
know, this was all based off of 1 month of billings, August, but now we're into 2 months, so we don't know what that rate really should
It
be
look
if
like
you're gonna make them whole for
2 months, right? Okay,
This will make them whole for 2 months,
for the 2 months.
for the
Okay.
2 months,
And it's gonna be the rate from
from whatever we choose.
now, from August 1st to forward, nothing changing in January, February, March, and all that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. I just need to get an understanding. Y'all may understand, and I may be, dumb or something. I don't know, but I didn't understand. I need to know what numbers you're pulling.
You need to know what you're voting for.
You're right. I wanted to know which one I was voting on, because I was gonna say no to this one. So I just need to know which one I just wanted us to be clear on understanding what we're voting on. And now they got it on the screen. That's so nice of them to put it on the screen now. But he said page 17. I don't have it. So that was my only thing. And only thing is also in your, is if you can include, I don't think there's a problem in including the rate study for the first year. You know what I mean? The first time, if they're going to review it every year, why not being able to include that next year, a rate study, before we start reviewing it? Then you have that in front of you to know if the decreases and increases are proportionate. So I think maybe we can add it for that yearly, not every year, but in at least the first year, to include a rate study in our rate indexing information right there. Would that be out of order, Mr. Itema? You know, at least because they say we're gonna review it yearly, so at least the first year have a rate increase. I mean, a rate study, so we'll know which direction, if we're going in the wrong or the right direction. You know what I'm talking about in your first paragraph? Just add prior to a rate study, or give, whatever, or based on a rate study or something like that. Can we do, I'm sorry, am I out of order?
No, ma'am, I don't think we can base it on a rate study right now, because to get a rate study done is gonna take months.
No,
to
I
get
don't,
it done.
I'm not talking about right now. They're saying to look at it every year after 2026. I'm saying by around that time to be doing a rate study. Not right now, because it says they're gonna look at it, maintenance, after January 20,
I believe we already have a place in the statutes now, don't we, that require us to do an annual review of the water rates?
Yes.
That's already an existing law.
Well, if that was the existing law, why are we in the predicament that
No.
we're in now?
I don't want to go there.
If people were doing if we were doing what we're supposed to do, then I'm just saying, I'm okay. I'm done.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Kevin, you were on there. Are you off now? Okay, Councilman Corn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Yantama, would you kindly do the first part of that about people that were injured or whatever?
So what we would do is, just that last part, the manager may design and implement policies and procedure to allow reductions at the customer's written request of the base volume water and wastewater rates for up to 2 months in Appendix A for those who have demonstrated hardship or an unanticipated increase inhibiting their ability to make payment for 2 months.
Okay, is there some federal guidelines out there that we would have to follow while we're trying to figure out how to implement that?
Not that I can think off the top of my head.
Okay, because we're not talking about a poverty rate. We're
No,
talking
the
about
poverty rate is, would you like me to read that one as well?
Huh?
That was, I didn't read that one, but that's immediately above what I just read.
Okay, I'm trying to get this sorted out.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me, there would be a rate indexing provision, which ties to, of Mayor Pro Tem's proposal, that the first is a rate indexing. So if no changes are made, the council, every January 1, the water bill would increase according to the urban consumer water and sewer maintenance portion of CPI. I should note that that was the rule in 2016, and somehow it did not get implemented properly because our rates 2 months ago were 30 cents lower than they were supposed to have been under that law. We will strive to do better than our predecessors. Second part is that the manager may design and implement policies and procedures to allow reductions at the customer's written request on the base and volume of water and wastewater rates found in the appendix for those living at or below the year's most recent federal poverty level. So one person making about $15,500 could, based on whatever the policy or procedure is, get a deduction. Then the final part is that the manager may design and implement policies and procedures to allow reductions at the request of the customer, written request, of the base water and wastewater rates for up to 2 months in Appendix A for those who demonstrate hardship inability to make payment or an unanticipated increase for 2 months' bills.
So if I suggest that I have an error in the amount of gallonage that I was billed, then does that cover that?
The appropriate remedy, if the gallonage is incorrect, is to contest your bill. That has the effect of immediately pausing it until the resolution has been reached. So the city would have to investigate, determine whether or not the bill is accurate. If it's not accurate, the refund occurs, a true refund. Often we do it as a form of credit, though, because you always need water. And then if it was accurate, then they could potentially apply under this system.
Okay, now, some people you don't see a refund, if you will, flying in the face of the state constitution or any other state laws or court cases that you're familiar with?
My opinion as to say that there's an anti-donation issue with the way this is worded would be to elevate form over substance. So in effect, what the councilor or the mayor pro tem has asked is that we index against previous months if people apply for it. So it really is the rate moving forward,
Okay,
but they have to activate it.
and you put a 2-month on. When does that 2 months start?
It'd be any 2 months, so this is capping it so that it couldn't be any longer than the 2 months of the old rates. Part of this provision, as it was written too, it was designed as a things happen. By way of example, if your water main bursts in your backyard because of a contractor messing up or something like that, that you can say, this would be a hardship because a true accident I didn't really consume, and this policy could fold that into that too. But we never want it to be more than 2 months, because if you haven't fixed a massive water leak in your backyard in 2 months, it's sort of on you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Councilman Hildebrand if he'd yield.
Councilman Hillenbrand, will you yield, please, to Councilman Corn?
Sure.
What's the financial gain or shortfall from your amendment? And I assume we're comparing it to Mr. Cole's presentation?
Well, I will tell you that one of the items by using the base rate of the $27 and the $31 in those will generate, based on 17,000 meters. I didn't take into consideration commercials, just on that number. That will generate an additional $1.6 million. Now, I have not done a calculation at what $3.40 will do, but that will increase your revenue by 40% over. Take that times the gallons that we sell, and you'll have your number. Now, on the wastewater, by taking those rates up from the $11.91 to just, I had to take some assumptions and said that 85% of the meters are residential, 10% of the meters are small commercial, and 5% of the meters are large commercial. That will generate an additional $3.2 million in revenue.
Over this proposal we're looking at?
Pardon?
Over the original proposal Mr. Cole brought to us? Huh? I mean, I'm asking.
You don't have that.
I'm a little bit lost, not much. But is that your answer, Councilman, that those rates will increase over what Mr. Cole presented, or?
I don't know what Mr. Cole's numbers were, what it will do for the rest of the revenue. I haven't seen that projection. Did you do a projection for the remainder of the year of what revenue it will generate, Mr. Cole?
No, sir. I just put together a plan for the rates. Yes, sir.
So, Councilor Corn, just to answer your question, all I can do is use the budget numbers like I did when I originally looked at this, suggesting a 30% rate increase based upon budget numbers. This one here is a 40% rate increase that we're talking about now. So, I yield.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor, I did
Warren.
some calculating of my own. At a 44% increase, that would be $3.50. It would cover our $10 million operation cost that we already went over, and give us $7 million in proposed capital. Now, that's a lot of money, but based on what I see and what I think I've demonstrated, it won't get us very far replacing water lines. It'll just put us in a place to keep trying to patch best we can. We're not gonna get, it's gonna take a lot of help from our federal partners or state partners to get all this stuff caught up. But, Mr. Mayor, you were right. If we don't have money in the checking account when we go to getting this money, you're not gonna get it. You're just not gonna get it. I was talking to some legislators, and I foresee a state law that will tell us where you have to be if you're gonna come up here asking for money. And I think that's a real realistic thing. What that number's gonna be, I don't know. My crystal ball gets real cloudy when I start trying to figure out what Santa Fe's gonna do. So I'm concerned. I understand the situation we're in, but based on, and I've got, I think Mr. Cole getting up to, what was it, 360 in January or February?
365, yes, sir, in February.
Maybe we can talk about that after we get finished talking about this.
And as you and I spoke earlier, it's hard to project a tiered rate because consumption will go down, the elasticity of demand will be affected, that will impact your projection. It's much easier to project a flat rate, and using Mayor Pro Tem's calculations, it put us at about 6.6 million using his calculations straight across in excess on water for emergency repairs. If you think about the 42 miles of pipe, and you think about $1 million for 3/4 of a mile, $4 million not going to get you there in 10 years, and that doesn't even include sidewalk repairs and street repairs. So getting closer to 6 would be the goal to affect those changes over a 10-year period. Yes, sir.
Okay, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor Halverson. Okay, so I don't see anything else on the deal. We have an amended motion by Councilman Hildebrand, seconded by Councilor Halverson. And so that's with the amended plan, and we have that. Mr. Eintman, Clerk, we've got all that worked out. No questions left.
Just to repeat for the council, Mr. Mayor,
Okay, so
the rate for water meters will stay the same from what was proposed at the beginning of the council. The rate is $3.40 for the per 1,000 rate. The base rate for wastewater will stay the same, but the per 1,000 gallon rate will be changed from $2.69 to $2.
Now, that is the amended plan that we're voting on now, is to amend the plan to contain the 340 and the, as Councilor Hildebrand has proposed. So if the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Corn?
No.
Counselor Moore? Counselor Halverson?
Yes.
Counselor Hildenbrand?
Aye.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes, with explanation. I don't know if I can do that on a yes, but yes, with an explanation.
Thank you. Counselor Chapel?
Yes.
Counselor Cabin?
No.
Counselor Marujo?
Yes.
By a vote of 7 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the amendment has passed. So now we're back on the, oh, excuse me, your Council Lady Arnold for your explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I would actually have liked us to start lower and am concerned about just implementing a new rate, I did want the constituents to know that I think that there are many of us on the council that will continue to make sure that the accuracy continues, and that we're not just going to stop at passing this rate and think that everything is okay. I think we're all very aware we have to make some concerted efforts to clean things up, but this is the first step in making sure that you guys don't have these astronomical bills. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, now we're back. We have an amended bill. Is there any further discussion on amended item number 3 and amended the ordinance 24-2012 ordinance 24-12 to amend chapter 26 regarding the water rates as it reads in 24-05. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, if the clerk could call the roll.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Corn?
Yes.
Counselor Moore? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Counselor Halverson?
Yes.
Counselor Hildenbrand?
Aye.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Chapel?
Yes.
Counselor Cabin?
Yes, with explanation.
Counselor Marujo?
Yes.
By a vote of 9 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the amended ordinance number 24-12 is duly passed. Councilman Cabin to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I would just say that I appreciate the Mayor Pro Tem's amendment to what Mr. Cole and our folks have worked hard on. You know, we've got a lot of things that are coming at us. You know, we're talking about doing water audits and water studies, and we're going to have to be repairing antennas and receivers and all these things on our water meters and stuff. And the last thing that I want to do is cut it short and us have to come back next year and raise water rates again on you folks. I mean, that's the biggest thing is about our community. I don't want to come back here and say in 6 months or a year, say we hit the mark by coming up short. And by then, I mean, it may be 3, we may do a water audit, may do a water study, do whatever, and then all of a sudden it's going to come up to where we should have done it today and we cut ourselves short. But I want to say thank you to Mike and Chad and everybody that worked so hard on this deal to put a good plan together for us. And I it's not that I don't appreciate Councilor Hildebrandt's amendments, but I think they're short of where we need to be. And so thank you all for everybody for being here tonight, speaking to us, talking to us about all this stuff and the things that were presented on going into the water department and filling out a form to question your water usage. I think it's, I have to tell you, I'm pretty amazed when I went in there. I had an older lady stop me and talk to me. Her water rate went up. I went in to talk with Ernest, and he could pull right up on his computer screen what her usage was. And I just know that she had to have left her hose running for 2 days, because you can see on there where it comes up and it comes straight across, and then you have where the water, the sprinklers came on, there's your spike, and then it came straight back across and went back down. So between leaks and accidentally leaving, and I gotta say, my wife left the hose running the other night at my house, and so it happens. But I think the meters are good, and we've got a lot cut out for us, and I appreciate everybody being here, and we're working hard to do what's best for Roswell and the future of Roswell. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Well, it's kind of like Santa Fe. We do a lot of this stuff. The later the night, the quicker we get done. So it's been pretty good. But one time I did order all the Democrats cots for Santa Fe, and the Republicans didn't have. When we had a filibuster, we were all night in cots, but the Republicans didn't get any. That'll teach you what happens when you got a good whip. Thank you all very much for coming, and we'll stand adjourned.